Hi everybody, this is Jeff Kelly. I'm here at Cloud Foundry Summit 2018. My guest is Alois Reitbauer. He's the Chief Technical Strategist at Dynatrace. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for coming. So we were chatting a little bit before we went on air about this concept of autonomous IT. It was fascinating. Tell me what that means. I think of autonomous cars, I've heard that. I haven't heard autonomous IT. What do you mean by that?
So the concept, the wording is deliberately choosing to be similar because the concept is pretty similar too. So we use this autonomous self-driving IT or cloud concept in the same way you do it with the car. So our idea is that in the future, you really don't want to run your IT infrastructure. You don't want to really take care a lot of your applications.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we see it, that human intervention really becomes the exception rather than the rule.
Mm-hmm.
We see it basically consisting of two parts, just as an autonomous car. You have the actual car that's capable of being controlled by software,
mm-hmm.
and then you have the software that detects it, like somebody's standing in the middle of the road and you should better slow down quickly, right? Or that there is another dangerous situation going on, or there might be a quicker way to go. So that's more or less this control plane side of the house. And then there's the car, like the actual self-driving car kit there as well. But the overall idea is just getting into this car, just telling it where you want to go. It's the same with your application. You want to, okay, I want this new feature, I want my customers being able to use it,
mm-hmm.
but I really don't want to care how it goes there. And if it doesn't work somehow, I want my underlying platform to take care of resolving those issues.
Okay, so there's two different parts. So you certainly need the platform, but you also need that intelligence and the software that's running the platform and making those decisions. So talk about maybe the latter first. I think that's probably the role Dynatrace would potentially play. Put a little bit more detail around that. What does it actually look like in practice?
So yeah, that's what the role that Dynatrace plays, really like being that software controlling part in there. So the whole idea, what we did, first of all, we collect all the monitoring data that's available in the system, infrastructure, application level, platform level, but also how the application behaves for users, so very importantly.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't help you if you have a platform that's running great, but the users still can't do what they're supposed to do. So we take all this information and build a real-time model of how everything works together, which we call Smartscape.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really tell for each and every user on your system how each click flows through your entire infrastructure and the application, and how it works for those users or not works for those users, obviously. And then we have built our own AI layer on top. So you can think of this AI layer more or less like a virtual operations person that's able
mm-hmm.
to analyze everything that's going on in the system, how it works, when it's broken, figuring out what the root cause is. So we more or less sent our software to performance engineering, monitoring, SRE school, and taught it all that you have to do as a human, where the big part obviously is data analysis and drawing conclusion from the data. So the output, if something is not working, is pointing you right to the point what's not working and what needs to be fixed.
Right, so it's both detecting what's not working and what needs to be fixed, and then actually executing the fix.
Not really executing. That's where the platform
comes in. Yeah. Okay, tell me about the platform role, with Pivotal Cloud Foundry as an example.
So as you may have found some problem and we need to do a rollback, because that's what, so we give developers the option as part of the deployment to specify what we call a remediation action.
Mm-hmm.
So how should the platform react to what happened there? Like what's the proposal the developer has? Roll it back, scale it up. In some cases you can't roll it back because it's a breaking change that you might have introduced to your system. You shouldn't, but it can still happen. So we get to that point where we define, okay, this is the problem. This is what the developer for the related deployment said should happen, but we don't run applications ourselves. That's where we rely on a cloud-native platform like Cloud Foundry to take care of this piece. So we would send this information into Cloud Foundry, say, okay, now do something with this information, like scale that application up, roll it back, change some type of configuration or whatever. Same thing with the car. The software detecting that you need to brake doesn't help you a lot if the car actually doesn't brake.
Right, I got it. So there's a tight integration between Dynatrace, that AI layer, making those detections, and then sending that information to Pivotal Cloud Foundry where the actual changes are going to occur.
I would not just say it's a tight integration, but both parts are like integral. You can't have one with the other. So when we talk to our customers that use Dynatrace, and they ask us, okay, so how do I get there? Like you have all these knowledge about the root cause of a problem, so why don't you fix it? We tell them, yes, you also need an infrastructure that's capable of working with this information. Like in the self-driving or autonomous car example, if you have all these fancy stuff there and you have your 1960 Chevy, which might be a pretty car, but it just won't be able to do anything with this information. So we tell them as part of your journey towards autonomous IT, you also have to make your underlying platform ready to get there. And the nice thing about Pivotal Cloud Foundry really is that you get both sides. You get the really cloud-native Cloud Foundry part of it, but you also have the Kubernetes part of it, which in some cases might just better suitable for when you bring some of your legacy applications along, like you make them 12-factor applications and give them more flexibility to scale them up and down. So suddenly, the value you get out of Dynatrace for monitoring those environments, you can really better act on that data.
Right, because if you're talking about a fully autonomous IT environment, you're talking both new cloud-native applications as well as legacy applications that you potentially are moving to the platform.
Exactly, and having the option to use both technologies obviously helps a great deal there.
Right. So, talk about the customer journey. So, when customers start out, sometimes they're dealing with these very legacy environments, and it's not just a matter of flipping a switch and you're going to be in this autonomous IT environment. What does that journey look like? How do you work with customers to get them where they want to go?
Yeah, it really is a journey, obviously, because it's not that you can do it in a day or two. The first step for us is always tool consolidation. You need a lot of resources in your operations team to do this. Somebody has to build that platform, somebody has to architect this. So a lot of it you get out of the box by using products like Pivotal Cloud Foundry and Dynatrace, but there's a bespoke part in this whole thing. So number one is really cutting down on the amount of tools that you use to get all the telemetry data. Think of it like a self-driving car, and you have your external GPS there, you have your external hands-free there and everything. So you need to integrate it into the whole ecosystem of the car first to get started. That's step number one. Step number two then is really integrating it into with the platform that you're planning to use, like Pivotal Cloud Foundry, and have the two work together seamlessly. So what you then get is a platform that really allows you to do a lot. The next step for us is really implementing what we call the Unbreakable Pipeline. The idea behind the Unbreakable Pipeline is you cannot push code very fast through your pipeline into production, which is great, and you don't want human intervention when it's not necessary. So it should really be the exception rather than the rule, but you still need to ensure that it helps. So like in an autonomous car, like we have at level 1, so that you have these 5 levels there, you have an assistant system that tells you, well, I don't think it's a good idea pushing this into production right now, because you're doing 3 times the remote calls, it's slower, I wouldn't really do it. And once you have moved beyond that, then you can actually go in different directions, but from the more self-healing capabilities. You first start with Runbook Automation. So the typical tasks that you do in operations that you would put in a runbook, you start to fully automate them, and eventually you then have obviously the system to learn. So in these situations, this action is helpful, which is really the far out goal. But the key is that every step you do along the journey has immediate benefit for what you're doing. It helps you also free up resources to do the next step.
Right, and speaking of resources, what impact will this have on operations teams? The first time I heard the term autonomous IT, if everything's autonomous, you probably need fewer operations people. What kind of changes will happen in the role of operations people?
I think they will actually enjoy it because they are doing more interesting work.
Okay.
If we look at a very traditional ops environment, it was really people sitting in a NOC and looking at screens and then executing runbooks. That's not the most fun job to have. First of all, these rooms are dark and all you do is really fixing problems in a very repeated fashion. So that's not the job. It's really keeping the lights on, and you don't want to work 20 years just keeping the lights on. But once you have this whole autonomous IT concept up and running, you don't need these NOCs anymore. In fact, Dynatrace doesn't have a NOC. We don't have one globally. We still have an operations team, whether you call it DevOps team or SRE team, but their role is different. They are more coaches for all the other teams, for the microservices teams, and help them to really develop operational practices, because what obviously happens as well, you are offloading operational responsibilities to the more development-focused teams.
Right.
And these people know a lot about how to build things in a way that they can be operated and managed well. So they have like a coaching roles and like a team member role in your microservices team. Plus, they also help to facilitate other discussions around how can we as an organization evolve even further. The whole journey we talked about is not a journey that you do in a half year or so. So it's a longer strategic journey. So they're really becoming an enabler and being integrated more into the application development process. They're more out in the team, so it's a way more social role than sitting in a room and staring at a screen. So I think the role is going to be way more fun and way more interesting for them. Plus, obviously, there's like this continuous possibility to find, where as an organization can we get better, where can we improve?
Great. So as we wrap up, so what's on your agenda for the next, let's say 6-12 months at Dynatrace? What are some of the things you're working on? Obviously this concept, but tell us a little bit about what you plan on accomplishing over the next year or so. Let's say we're back here having this conversation. Where do you hope to be?
We're working on a couple of items right now, especially around PCF. We work on a lot of more support for PCF environments, especially very large environments. We have this big initiative around what we refer to as enterprise cloud, so like really the grown-up, really large-scale cloud environments, and solving some hard problems there. One is what we call management zones, which is already available today, but what we keep working on more, which provides individual visibility on the platform, so that people are only allowed to see what they really should see. And when they all get together, suddenly see everything. So you might be allowed to see way more in the pre-production environment and the production environment. So having a way of a more seamless integration, also building out especially those test beds around self-driving or autonomous IT, so that you can just more or less execute a Terraform template. Everything is there, you can play around with it, you work on it. We're also investing in a lot in JetOps and virtual assistants, because if you don't have an ops team anymore, somebody has to bring people together and tell them what's going on. And also in more on the user experience side, so better helping to understand why your application is not working for the user. So there's a lot of blind spots there where people don't know what's not working for the user. So we are investing in technologies like session replay, where as a developer you could go in and say, that user someone didn't find the right button, so why not? And even could replay their session. So really investing across a broad range of areas there.
Fantastic. Well, Alois, thanks for taking the time to join us today. I appreciate it. We'll let you get back to the conference. There's a lot going on, but thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.